Number 1, which is an example of the associative property? Who can tell me something about the associative property, how you would recognize the associative property? What do you think, Anna? So we're changing the groupings, right? Changing the groupings. That means we are changing the parentheses. Now, on a study guide, if this is just asking us about the associative property, does that mean on the test we're only going to ask you about the associative property? Or could we ask you about the commutative property or the identity property? We could ask you about any of those things. So just because the study guide only asks you about the associative property doesn't mean that's the only thing on there. So you probably need to make sure that this means that you need to look over all of the properties, not just the associative properties. All right, so if this is changing the grouping, which one of these is an example of changing the grouping? Noelle? C. C is the answer, right? The order didn't change, 9, 8, 2, 9, 8, 2. The order didn't change. If the order changed, which one would that be? The commutative property. But the order didn't change. Here, the 9 and 8 are grouped together. That means do those first. And over here, the 8 and 2 are grouped together. That means do those first. But with the associative property, it means our answer is not going to be different just by changing the grouping. But that only works for a problem that's all addition, and that only works for a problem that is all multiplication. If you put anything else in there, if you mixed them up, groupings would matter, right? Okay, what number is equal to 2 times 8 minus 4 divided by 4? So let's follow order of operations and solve it. Who can tell me the answer first, and then we'll check? Autumn. D. All right, so let's solve it. 2 times 8 is 16. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1, so that's minus 1. And 16 minus 1 is 15. So it is D. Shh. All right, simplify the expression below. What does that mean to simplify the expression below? What do we call that? Summer? Combine like terms. Are we going to start with the X's or the Y's? X's. Are there any of these I know I can cross off that just don't make sense? There's one of them that's just not going to make sense. What do you think, Camden? C. We can't end up with an XY. We don't have any XY's up here. We have X's and we have Y's, but this would be like 1 XY plus 12 XY's. That's the only way you can end up with an answer like that. So I know it can't be that one. All right, so 14 X's plus 7 X's. How many is that? 21 X's minus 3 X's. 18 X's. 2 negative Y's and 3 negative Y's. Negative 5Y. Your answer is D. An electrician charges customers $52 per hour plus an additional $11 for travel each way. If H represents the total number of hours worked, which of the following equations could be used to calculate the electrician's total charge? So I can already see I need to have an addition sign in there. It's $52 per hour. Do we know how many hours? No, but what's going to represent, if H represents the hours, what's going to represent $52 per hour? 52H, right? 52 times the number of hours. Plus $11 for travel, but it's each way. So like when the electrician leaves his house and goes to the job, how much does he charge? $11. But once he's at the job, does he stay there and like live there, or does he go back home? He goes back home. How much is he going to charge for going back home? $11. So how many times does he charge $11? 2 times. So I could say that's 2 times 11, or it might be represented as $22. It's one of those two. Do you see how I worked through that before I even looked at the answer choices? So let's look. This says the total charge is going to be $52 times the number of hours plus $22. Does that feel like that one could be correct? Yeah. It does, but we're going to look through the other answer choices. This says the cost is $52 times 11 times the hours. I feel like that would be an awful lot of money. Like that's over $500 right there. And we're not going to multiply the money times the money, right? So it can't be that one. The cost is $52 times 2 hours plus $11 times the number of hours. That can't be that one, right? And the last choice is the cost is $52 an hour times $11 each way plus the hours times 2. That can't be it either. So the choice is definitely answer A. So I want you to pay attention sometimes to the reasoning through of problems and making sense of problems before you get down here to try to figure out the answer. 5. How is 10 less than the square of a number? A, expressed algebraically. 10 less than the square of a number. Anybody think they know which one that one is? Autumn. A. Here is the square of a number A. This is 10 less than that. Sometimes we want to put the 10 in the front. But this is the square of a number less than 10. So if you chose that one, you were using the right numbers, but you had the wrong order, right? And is this squaring a number? That's twice a number, right? Or 2 times a number, so I can mark that one off automatically. And this one is also twice a number, or double a number, or 2 times a number, so it can't be those. So you should have been somewhere between these two, but make sure that you get the order right. 10 less than the other number is this. Are we getting better at those, or did that one give you trouble? No, we're good? Okay. 6. Which symbol can be placed in the box to make the following an expression? So we have to know the difference between an expression, an equation, and an inequality. So if it was an equation, what would be in there? An equal sign. It's not. We got to mark that one off. What would this be if we put this in the box? It wouldn't be an expression. It would be an inequality. This one would be an inequality. So the only one that makes it an expression is D. You would have to have a plus or minus or multiply or divide there to be an expression. Everybody okay with the difference between an expression, an equation, and an inequality? Okay. What is the value of the expression 8y plus 3 minus 5z when y equals 4 and z equals 2? Autumn, what do you think the answer is? B, 25. Let's look at it. 8 times y, and what is y? 4. Plus 3 minus 5 times z, and what is z? 2. So lots of us seem to still be struggling with this concept of substitution on our homework. It just means change out the number for what the variable represents. Lots of us are still trying to make this, instead of 8 times 4, we're trying to make that 84. You have to realize when they're next to each other, that means to multiply. So now I have multiply, add, subtract, multiply. So what do I want to do first? Multiply, working left to right. 8 times 4 is 32. Plus, now let's look right here. Negative 5 times 2. negative 10. So 32 plus 3, and then we had to do this right here, negative 10. 32 plus 3 is 35, or minus 10. And then minus 10 is 25. So B is correct. 8. What is the sum of x plus 13 and 9x minus 11? So, x plus 13, sum means to do what? Add them together. Plus 9x minus 11. X plus 9x is 10x. Positive 3 and negative 11. Did I write? Oh, that's a 13. Ooh, I was like, my math is off. So positive 13 minus 11 is 2. Positive 2. 10x plus 2, so my answer is A. What is the solution to n divided by 2 minus 4 is greater than 10? So n divided by 2 minus 4 is greater than 10. So lots of us are still having trouble with these kinds of problems. What's my first step? Anna? So, not on this one, because I can save this till the end. Now, if it looked like n minus 4 divided by 2 is greater than 10, then I would have to multiply both sides by 2 and get rid of it. But over here, I can just I can cover this up and get rid of this. Here I can't because this is considered a group. So the first thing that we're going to do is add 4 to both sides. And you're left with n divided by 2 is greater than 14. Multiply both sides by 2. And you are left with n is greater than 14 times 2 is 28. N is greater than 28. So I could pick a number. Yes? Okay, well, that doesn't always work. So I don't want to share it with everybody, okay? All right, so can I check to make sure that this is right? What is a number that is greater than 28? Let's try 30. That'll be easier to divide by 2. 30 divided by 2 minus 4 is greater than 10. What is 30 divided by 2? 15 minus 4 is greater than 10. And what is 15 minus 4? 11. Is 11 greater than 10? Yes, so I could check. That's how you can check on inequalities to make sure your sign is pointing in the right direction. So some of us are still having trouble with when to flip our inequality sign. So if you check it, you can check to see if you have it correct. Okay, let's look at 10 on the back. Write a simplified expression to show the perimeter of the rectangle. So what does perimeter mean? Adding up all the sides. So does that just mean adding these two? What else do I have to do? Okay, so what is the bottom? And this is 2 plus c. So to add them all, 5 minus x plus 5 minus x plus 2 plus c. That looks like a z. I'm sorry. 2 plus c plus 2 plus c. Now, I have had people say, how do you know to add those together? Like, how did I know I needed to write this plus sign and this plus sign? How do I know that? Mackenzie? There's not a negative, but it's also because it's asking me for the perimeter, and perimeter means to add all the sides. That's how we know, right? Okay, so now combine like terms. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. A negative x and a negative x. So I have a negative x and a negative x, negative 2x. And then a c plus a c plus 2c. Now, could I have it in a different order? Yes. I could have 14 plus 2c minus 2x. I could have negative 2x plus 14 plus 2c. I could have 2c minus 2x plus 14. Do you get the idea? Everywhere I put it, though, the negative has to come in front of the 2x. So order doesn't matter, but you have to make sure that the negative is always with the 2x, and the other two are always a positive. Questions? So as I'm looking around the room, I should see you writing the same things I'm writing. Because on a test, this could be multiple choice, and you need to be able to see what the different forms would look like. If I'm writing it, you should definitely be writing it. Write a verbal expression for 2x plus 10. That means take this math and change it to words, right? Anybody have words that you wrote? Anybody want to give it a try? There's lots of different ways you could write it. So one way I see it, you might see it as 10 more than 2 times x. You might see it as multiply 2 times x, then add 10. Do you think those are the only 2 ways you could write it? No, there could be lots of different ways. Those are just 2 options. Multiply the following. I'm sorry, simplify the following. That makes more sense. 5 times 2x minus 3 minus 4 times 2x plus 1. So, strategy. What do you think we want to do? Anna? Yes, distributive property. So we need to distribute here. And then we've got to distribute here. But we're distributing a positive 4 or a negative 4? A negative 4. We've got to distribute there. And then we will combine like terms. So 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times, is that positive 3 or negative 3? Negative 3, so that makes negative 15. Negative 4 times negative 2x, positive 8x. Negative 4 times a positive 1, negative 4. You should be right there. Combine like terms or add like terms. 10x plus 8x is 18x. Be careful here. Negative 15 minus 4. You're at negative 15 on the number line and you go 4 more in the negative. Be careful, Mackenzie. Summer, you sound an awful lot like, or Mackenzie, you sound an awful lot like Summer. What is it, Mackenzie? Negative 19, so minus 19. Or you could have it written as negative 19 plus 18x. Either of those two ways. But make sure that your 19 is negative, whichever way you write it. All right. 13. Solve and graph the following inequality on the number line. So I've seen lots of people try to go straight to the 12. Is there a 12 on there? Nope. Lots of people try to go straight to the negative 3. I'm trying to graph what is greater than or less than x. Do I know what 1x equals yet? Or is greater than or less than? No, you've got to do some math here, people. Negative 3x is greater than 12. What's the relationship here between the negative 3 and the x? Well, no, what's add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Multiplication. So the inverse of multiplication is to divide. Divide both sides by what? Negative 3. Divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. When I divide by a negative, what do I have to do? Flip the sign. X is less than negative 4. X has to be less than negative 4. Now I've got to go back and graph it. Open circle, close circle. Open circle. Which direction? People are having trouble with what's smaller and bigger on the negative side. Look, this tells me my arrow goes in that direction. It tells you which way to point. Probably need to be in the habit of checking these because lots of us are missing the arrow. So pick a number over here and let's check it. What number do we want to use? Negative 10. So negative 3 times negative 10 is greater than 12. You go back to your original problem. Negative 3 times negative 10 is 30. Is 30 greater than 12? Yes. If I didn't flip my sign, then I would have had 30 is less than 12. And would that have been true? No, that's a good check, is to pick a number and put it back into the original problem. And if it's right, your sign's pointing the right way. If I didn't flip my sign, I would have had this, and that would have been incorrect. Okay. All right. Let's go to this constructed response. There's lots to do on this. Bill is going to order new jerseys for his baseball team. The jerseys will have the same team logo printed on the front. Bill asks 2 local companies to give him a price. Print It will charge $21.50 for each of the jerseys. Using N for the number of jerseys ordered and C for the total cost in dollars, write an expression to show the total cost of jerseys from Print It. So really, we're not going to use the C for the cost because it wants us to write an expression. So if it had said write an equation, that would have looked like C equals $21.50 times N, times the number of jerseys. That's an equation, but it said to write an expression. I really need to go through and edit this. So this is what you're going to use for Print It. Print It, this is how we would figure the cost. $21.50 times N. And then if they told us 10, $21.50 times 10 would be $215. We could do the math for that. All right. Top Print has a one-time setup cost of $70, and then they charge $18 for each jersey. So that means it doesn't matter how many Top Print charges, just for setting up their equipment, they're going to charge you $70. And then it's going to be cheaper per jersey. It's how much per jersey? 18. So how are we going to represent that? Anybody have an idea? So it's $70 plus $18 for the number of jerseys. Which one feels like it's going to be cheaper? Can you tell? It's really going to depend on what? How many jerseys? Like if I only ordered one jersey, this is going to be a really expensive jersey here, right? $70 plus 18 times 1. That's going to be really expensive. Where here, one jersey would be $21.50. But the more that you order, the cheaper this one gets. Okay? Use two expressions from questions 1 and question 2 to figure out how many jerseys Bill would need to order for the price from top print to be less than printed. So here's top print. We want top print to be less than printed. All right, so that means I'm going to take the math from top print, and when is it going to be less than print it? So I'm going to take this, 70 plus 18 times n, and make it less than this one. What's the number going to be? Do you all see how I set this up? It said top print less than print it. Top print less than print it. So then I just took the numbers and put them in. So how would I do this math? So I need all my variables on one side. So I'm going to subtract 18n. We don't usually do this, but I'm going to. 18n. And we're going to say 70 is less than 0, 5, 350n. Does everybody see how I combined my n's? I wanted them on one side, so I subtracted from here and put it over here. Now can we solve this? And now what do I do? Divide both sides by 70 or both sides by 350? 350. Use a calculator, and we're going to find 70 divided by $3.50, 20. Can I leave my answer in this order? So it's n is greater than 20. So the question is, use the two expressions to figure out how many jerseys Bill would need to order from top print to be less than. So the number would have to be greater than 20. He would need to order more than 20 jerseys. That's quite a bit to write there, and I see some people have just been kind of chilling out. He would need to order. So does that mean he could order 20? Exactly 20? What would it mean? He would need to order 21 or 22 or 50 or 100. Any of those. Could it be 19? No. Could it be 15? No. And it couldn't be 20 either, right? Okay. Bill decides to order 30 jerseys from Print It. How much more would the jerseys have cost if he had bought them, from Top Print? How much more if he had bought from Print It? So I'm going to do the math for both of them. Top Print and Print It. I'm going to do the math. So I'm going to go up here. Print It is $21.50 times N. And Top Print is 70 plus 18n. So that's the equation I use for both. It says he is going to order 30. So let's figure out the cost for both of them. 70 plus 18 times 30. And what am I going to do first? The adding or multiplying? Multiplying. 18 times 30 is $540. So 70 plus 540 equals $610. And over here, what am I going to do? 2150 times what? 30. $21.50 times 30, and that is $645. All right, and the question is, how much more would the jerseys have cost if he had bought them from Printed? How am I going to figure out how much more? Subtract. 645 minus 610 equals. So what statement am I going to write? How much more would the jerseys have cost? They would have cost. Very good. That problem was fun. Wasn't that problem fun? That was like a real world problem and everything. All right, questions? When is your test? Tomorrow. If we don't finish it tomorrow, we will finish it on Friday. Is your study guide due tomorrow? Yes, bring it back. If you wrote all of this stuff down, that's an easy what? 100. If you get your study guide signed, 10 extra credit points added to your test.
I'm going to make a 70 on it.
Okay.